Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to this week's edition of Mental Monday here on Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys tuning in for today's video. And welcome back to the club, man. All you guys that are here for every Mental Mondays, you know what we do here. If you're new to the channel, this is one video I do a week that doesn't have anything to do with fishing most of the time. We just try to have a little bit of break from the videos on fishing tips and sort of try to talk about some things that affect people mentally and their state of well-being, and maybe offer some tips and advice on that. So that's what we're going to do in today's video, which is the topic is money on there. And what I want to do specifically in today's video, guys, is I want to talk about the sort of like the reality of money in our lives and the stress that it creates in so many people out there, and maybe give some tips and advice on how to deal with that stress and how to overcome it. I don't think that unless, in fact, I don't even know if people are wealthy. I mean, even if people are wealthy, I still think that almost every person out there has some level of insecurity as far as never having enough. That's sort of like a byproduct of the way our society has transformed, specifically since the industrial age out there. It's almost like, enough is never enough. But in reality of the situation, I want to sort of deal with the people that struggle, with money a little bit, to the point of where it affects their mental and, relationships with people and just their everyday life. Because, guys, when you're talking about, like, say for example, relationships with your family and friends, and especially if you're married with kids or something like that, money issues can be devastating to a family in the terms of just causing breakups, causing strife and arguments, causing stress amongst everybody out there. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Everybody needs to be aware of it. Now, there's a lot of different scenarios here. It's like when you talk about people's financial situation, it is all over the board. If you're fortunate enough to be one of those people out there that don't have to worry about money and that have financial safety nets, if you have a wealthy family, to fall back on, or you're fortunate enough to be in the position where you don't have to worry about money, consider yourself extremely fortunate. Because if you have the ability to go through life without that distraction and the stress that comes with money issues a lot of times, that probably allows you to focus on a lot more creative aspects of life that most people are never fortunate enough. Most people, in fact, I think the majority of people in this country, and I'm talking about here in this country, that everybody's got financial issues globally as well, but here in this country, most people have to deal with that throughout the course of their life on it, to whatever one extent or another. Now, one of the things I think that this is a pretty wide-ranging conversation here, but I think one of the things that everybody has to realize in their back of the mind is, I don't care how stable you are financially or what your financial situation is, it can deteriorate just in a split second. You could have a set of unfortunate events come through your life. It could be health, something related to health. It could be something with an investment. It could be poor management money, or poor money management. It could be health issues. It could be whatever. You can go from having a ton of money to having no money in just the blink of an eye. It can happen to anyone out there. And so I think that's one of the things that you really have to be aware of when you make decisions regarding money. But on the other hand of the spectrum, what I really wanted to gear this video more towards were people that sort of struggle day to day with money. Because I know what it's like, guys. I've been there. I mean, in fish, one of the things about bass fishing is that bass fishing, you can either be broke in it or you can have big windfall profits. And I've been on both ends of it. I had great seasons where I've made a lot of money, and then I've had seasons where I've been broke. I've experienced the highs and the lows and everything in between, so it gives me a sort of chance to talk on this pretty good here. But one of the things that I want to really, really focus on is those people out there that sort of have a chronic issue struggling with money that creates anxiety and tension and stress and worry in your life out there. First of all, here's some tips and advice I can give you that might help you out mentally. The first thing is that everybody out there has got to live within their means. And the means vary from person to person. So when you accept the fact that once your financial situation is in a certain position, or it's fairly stable, or if it's unstable or whatever, it could be a financially stable or unstable, you have got to live your life in accordance to what your means are. And that requires discipline a lot of times. And that also requires facing reality a lot of times, because so many times, like, people, they get like reliant on credit, they get reliant on, overextending themselves, and they wind up getting in trouble with that. Happens every day. It happens far too common to way too many people in this country. So the first thing I think that you have to do is, whatever your situation is at the time, you have to live within your means there. And once you live within your means, and you're able to function within that automatically reduces a big stress level on your life out there. That's a big thing with it. But the main thing is, what you want to do beyond that is you want to create some type of financial stability within your life, and which is a lot easier said than done a lot of times, because creating financial, and I'm no economist, or I'm no financial guru. I'm just telling you from my own personal experience and all my experiences interacting with people around me. One of the things that you have to do if you want to improve the situation you are financially to help reduce that stress is you have to sort of set down and make some type of short and long-term plans for your future in regards to that. And that varies everybody. It varies based upon, what your skill set is, what your motivations are, what your responsibilities are, if you have kids, if you don't have kids. Everybody's situation is different out there. But given that, every single person out there also has the ability to sit down and say, okay, what can I do to improve my financial situation? And when I mean improve your financial situation, I mean reduce stress. I don't mean everybody needs to have a plan on how to get rich, because getting rich, guys, and getting money is not going to make you any happier. I can assure you, it can reduce stress off of some parts of your life, but I can tell you right off the bat, guys, without exception, is every person I know that I have met in my life, whether it be close or just associations, there's a direct correlation between most people. The more money they have, the less happy they are. And the people that are usually happiest are the ones that are not broke and they're not rich, but they're sort of in that in between, where they can just comfortably, they can pay their bills and they can get through their life. That seems to be the goal with there. So when you're planning to try to reduce anxiety and stress from your life financially, think in those terms. Don't think in terms of, having to get rich or having to make a ton of money out there. That's not the goal. The goal is to be able to lead a life where money does not control you, where the emotion and the stress and the anxiety of lack of money does not control you. It's to get comfortable to where you can actually enjoy life and not have to worry if you can pay your bills next month. That's the goal out there. So everybody's situation is different with that. I can't sit and I can't tell like one thing to everybody that's going to work for everybody. The one thing that I can tell you about making money is if you can figure out some way to generate money, income, through something that you halfway enjoy doing. You don't have to absolutely love it to death, but it's something where you sort of have a good time doing it, or it's sort of fun, or it's sort of rewarding, or it's some type of creative outlet. That is so much better. One of the biggest learning experiences I ever had in my life was when I was going to college. I was in my last year of college, and I was fishing also too, and I was working a full-time job, and I was going to school at night. And the place I worked at was called Motorola. It was an electronics company there in Joplin, Missouri. And basically what I did was I was sort of on an assembly line of like testing screens and stuff up there. It was the same deal every day. It's like these screens had come down the conveyor belt. I'd have to take them off and I'd have to test them to make sure they were in specs. That's all I did. It's like all day long, it's like a robot testing stuff like that. And it was miserable. It was the most miserable year I have ever spent, because I did it for a year because I was trying to save up enough money, not only to stay in school, but to get a little boat. And I was miserable, but some people didn't mind it. I mean, there was a lot of people in there that they were comfortable doing that and they were okay with it. So you can't equate what you think is going to make you happy with what somebody else is. If somebody is satisfied doing something like that, that's great. But for me, that was the first thing I wanted to do. I was not happy in that job. I don't care how much money that I could have made at it. There was nothing about it that stimulated me as a person or rewarded myself as a person. So one of the things I think that is important is that if you can find a way to pay your bills by doing something that you like to do, even though it may not make as much money as you could doing by something else, go for that, guys. Because if you take a job or you put yourself in a position where you can make more money by not doing something that you like to do or something that you don't find has any type of redeeming values, that's not going to serve you in this short life we have here on this planet, guys. It's not going to, you need to do something if you all possibly that you halfway enjoy doing with that. That's my biggest advice that you can get with that. And it's a tough thing, man. There's not anything easy about it, because when you're talking about the stresses that money puts on people, it comes from the unexpected. Because a lot of times you can be chugging along, paying your bills, having a good job or something like that, and all of a sudden you just make a bad decision. Maybe you had a chance to invest your money in something and it went completely under, or maybe you fell into some issue with your family and you wind up breaking up with your wife, or maybe something happened and you got sick and you had to spend an extended time in the hospital and your insurance didn't cover it, or maybe somebody needed help within your family and you had to help them out financially. It could be anything, guys. It could be anything that could come along there and undermine your financial stability with that. So you sort of have to prepare for that a little bit if all possible. And everybody's road is different with that. But the main thing that I can probably tell you with this is bring it to your awareness and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your financial situation, and be honest with yourself about your income potential that you have for the future. And on top of that, guys, you have got to be motivated to want to improve your situation. If you're not motivated to do that and put in the work and put in the focus, it's never going to happen. So it's just the reality of the world we live in. It's like, it's not fair. It isn't, because I've seen people go through life that never had to worry about it. They were literally like had the golden spoon in their mouth when they were born, and they never had to operate within that stress level that came with that. And I know other people out there that have been the opposite. They were completely poor and they never got out of that poverty mentality, and they stayed that in their whole life. So every situation is different with that. There's no magic pill that will cure that with it. So anyway, like I said, that's just, in the world that we live in 2024, where so much of our stuff revolves around material possessions and you have to have money to basically survive and live. It's one of the biggest challenges that come to anybody in life out there. And the main thing about that is you can't ever give up when it comes in there. You have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep thinking in terms of, I'm going to make this better. And this is something that's not going to define me. Let's sit down. We're going to spend an hour a day and we're going to brainstorm the way to figure out how to get this situation where it's better all the time. Because one of the great things about living in this country is there's a lot of opportunities to do that. It's just really up to your imagination and your creativity to, how you want to make that happen. And it's literally all over the board with that. But biggest thing, guys, if I give you, one thing that I can tell you that is all encompassing for everybody is live within your means. You have got to live within your means. And I have been the victim in the past. My dad, advised me of this wisely when I was younger, and I didn't heed his advice. But when you live above your means and you deny that reality, you are setting yourself up for failure. So be honest with yourself, your financial situation you're in, and your future earning potential, and then make your decisions accordingly and live within that. And it just reduces a lot of stress from your life. So Hope that helps out, guys. We'll talk later. See you.